Hey guys, so I am back after such a long time of being away. There has been so much stuff going on, it's crazy. I've been meaning to sit down and film a video, but I've been wanting to do it like perfectly, like all set up and with like a background and all cute, but didn't work out. So we're here. So I know that if I wanted to do that, just the thought of having to set everything up just kept stopping me from doing it. So now I'm just gonna film like this, and at least it's a video. So I wanted to give you guys an update and let you guys know what is going on. So yes, I had my baby and she's beautiful and she's here, but it wasn't easy to get her here. So I didn't write anything down, of course, because it's just not like me to do that. So I'm kind of gonna be all over the place, so bear with me a little bit. But my main focus of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is what I got diagnosed with when I was pregnant with my daughter. So I don't know if anyone has heard of this before, but I wanted to make this video so that it can get more awareness, so that moms know what to expect and what to look for this type of thing. So I mean, I don't know everything about it, but I did have it, so I know some symptoms and stuff. So if you ever heard of cholestasis, it is basically something to do with the liver and the bile that goes into your bloodstream, and it makes you really itchy. And a lot of women get it when they're pregnant, and usually it doesn't start until like the end of their pregnancy. So I ended up having that, and for the longest time I didn't know what was going on. I just thought that, okay, I'm getting bigger and my body's stretching and I'm gonna be itchy, and so it's normal. And so that's what I thought. And then I saw a post that one of my friends from high school posted, and she said that the headline was, "Itching while pregnant is not normal." And so I clicked on it, obviously, because I was so itchy, like crazy itchy, and I didn't know what it was from. It was mostly my calves. Like my calves itched like crazy. So I clicked on it, and it said that it described all the symptoms of cholestasis. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have. And then in the bottom of it, it says you should be induced before 38 weeks, because it could be very dangerous for the baby if you have this, if you have cholestasis. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And I was 38 weeks exactly. I had just turned 38 weeks that day that I read about it. And I never talked to my doctor about itching, because I thought itching was normal. I thought, you know, I'm just growing and my body's growing and I'm just itchy. And so I didn't ever even think to bring it up to her. And so I called my doctor right away, and of course my doctor was out of town, my OB. And oh, my daughter's starting to whine over there. Anyways, so I call right away, and they're like, if the nurse, or the the receptionist in the front was like, if you think that this is what you have, you need to go to the emergency room right away. And so I did. I went to the emergency room, and my husband came with me, and we were there for a really long time. And it was a different doctor who saw me, because my doctor wasn't there, obviously. And so he comes in, and they had already taken my blood, because that's how they are able to tell if you have it or not, is by your blood levels. And so they tested my liver, stuff from my liver, and for cholestasis. And he's like, well, everything came back normal for your liver, but the levels for the cholestasis won't come back for a week. And I'm like, I cannot wait a week. If this is dangerous for my daughter, like, you can have one of the biggest things that they say is that can happen to the baby is having a stillbirth. And so of course I'm freaking out, and I'm like, I cannot wait a week, and if something happens to my daughter, I'm gonna be so mad. So I was talking to him, and I'm like, how am I supposed to wait a week if I do have this and it could be dangerous for my daughter? And he, oh my gosh, it was such a headache. He was the worst doctor. Like, he just was the type of doctor that kind of just like, oh, it's not a big deal, like he's just like that kind of doctor. And I was so upset, and he ended up discharging us and saying that there's nothing that he can do for us because he doesn't know for sure if I have it. And so I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do, so I had to leave. But I knew, like, if something happened to my daughter and he sent me home, that there was going to be some serious consequences, because that's not okay. So I went home and I was studying, doing more research, and I called back to my nurse's office, or to the doctor's office, and I was talking to them like, what can I do, because I don't want to just sit at home waiting if my daughter could be affected. And so they're like, okay, we're going to bring you in twice a week, we're going to monitor you, and we'll do ultrasounds every single time you come in and make sure that her fluids are good and that she's moving, her heartbeat strong, and all that stuff. And so that's what I was doing for that whole week that I was 38 weeks. I was going in twice a week and getting monitored. So my doctor finally came back, and she said, or I called her right away, because no one, like everyone that I was talking to was not taking me seriously. I felt like they were just like, when I even talked to the nurse, like, or the receptionist, she didn't even know what cholestasis was, and I had to explain it to her because they were kind of like acting like it wasn't a big deal, and she didn't even know what it was. And so it was just a big headache. So actually, before my doctor came back, I ended up going back to the emergency room because I just had this like feeling, you know, like this really bad feeling as a mom, you know, like if something's happening, you know that, like, you can feel it, and you can feel that it's not right. And so I didn't want to keep going to sleep every night not knowing if my baby was going to be okay, and having to worry about, is she kicking, is she moving, like all this stuff. My itching was getting worse and worse. I could like barely sleep at night because I was itching so bad. Like, it started in my calves, moved to my hands, my feet, my legs, my face, like everything was itching. I was just itching like crazy, and nothing was helping. And they're like, oh yeah, just take some Benadryl. And I'm like, I have a toddler, I cannot take Benadryl, like I have to be awake. So I ended up it was like really late at night, and I was talking to my mom and my husband, and we were debating, should we go back to the emergency room? Like, are they gonna be able to do anything for me? That same doctor was still there. I mean, I just felt like he was gonna send me back home again, but I was also still super worried, and I didn't want to keep going to, like, if I'm sleeping, I can't see if she's moving or not. And when I read up on it, it says that your levels can change at any moment. Like, they can be at a 10, and then they can jump to like 50, 100, and get higher and higher. And so I'm like, I don't know if I'm, while I'm sleeping, if my levels will jump or whatever. So it actually came back before I decided if I wanted to go to the emergency room or not, that I did have cholestasis. And he was saying that, actually I met with the nurse practitioner, and she was saying your levels are out of the normal range, so they're higher, but they're not at a what's it called, they're not at a dangerous amount, they're just elevated. And I was like, okay, well, they can change. And she was like, yeah, they can change at any moment. And I'm like, okay, so I don't understand why we're not doing something about this. Like, why am I just being able to go home and not be able to get her out? Because that they say at the baby should be out before 38 weeks, and I'm 38 plus weeks, and I'm still pregnant, and this baby is at risk. And so she's like, if it was me, of course I would have already had you in the emergency or in labor and delivery, but, and if this was your regular doctor, she would have done the same thing, but this, I have to go with what this doctor is saying. So it was just so frustrating. So I decided to go back late at night. Like, I would think I was like 38 weeks, 5 days maybe, or 4 days, I don't remember. But I ended up going back because I called the labor and delivery unit, and I talked to them about it, and I talked to them about what their experiences have been with dealing with women who have cholestasis. And she's like, yeah, you should come in, but there's no guarantees that your doctor is going to be like, let you be induced. So I go back in, and it's the same thing the first time. They tell me we have to listen to the doctor. It's no, actually it wasn't that doctor. That doctor was supposed to be in the guy doctor, but he actually had transferred his shift to the on-call doctor. So whoever was at the hospital that night, he just transferred all of his patients to that doctor. And of course that doctor doesn't know me and doesn't know my background, and so he does all the same exact tests that that other doctor did. And I'm like, I already know that I have it. I already know what the levels are going to say. I already know that you guys are going to tell me, oh, it's not going to come back for a week. I already know all of that, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to get this baby out because I don't want to put her at risk anymore. So they were like, well, our hands are tied. I mean, they're the nurses, and I understood. I didn't want to give them too hard of a time, but I was just so frustrated, and I was like, I know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to have them tell me, oh, I'm so sorry, like we should have done something before. Like, I didn't want that. So they ended up sending me home again, and I was so mad. And it was like, I spent the whole night in the hospital, and just for them to tell me, I'm sorry, there's something that we can do. So I was like, okay, I'm waiting for my doctor to come back, and I'm gonna talk to her. She was coming back in like 2 days, or yeah, I think it was, yeah, 2 days. She was coming back, and so I waited for her, and the whole time I'm like freaking out, but my hands are tied. I can't do anything. And so I even talked to a different hospital, and they told me the same thing. They would have to go through that same doctor, and he's not doing anything for me. And so my doctor finally came back, and even with my doctor first coming back, because I told the office, like, I need to make an appointment with her right away. Like, you guys need to tell me when she's coming back. And so they still were like not taking me seriously, still like brushing me off, kind of like. That's how I felt. And so I ended up having to call and be like, is my doctor in, and is she available, because I need to see her right away. And they're like, oh yeah, she's here, but you have to wait because she's really booked from not being here. And I'm like, I don't care, like, you guys don't understand. This is very serious, and I need to see her right away. So luckily they were able to fit me in early in the morning, and I went in with my husband and we talked to her. And then even she was kind of like, well, your levels aren't super high. And I'm like, okay, I know they're not high right now, but as I'm sitting here in this office, my levels could go up. Like, at any moment they can go up, and it could be really dangerous for her, and I don't want anything bad to happen. And so she's like, no, I totally understand what you're saying. And so she talked to a specialist, and the specialist was like, let's set an induction date. But it wasn't until I was going to be like 39 in a couple days, like 39 weeks in a couple days. And so I was like, you guys are not listening to me. It's not, I don't even mind still being pregnant. It's not, that's not what I'm trying. I think that's what they kind of felt like. I was just trying to get the baby out so I don't have to be pregnant anymore. But I'm like, that's not the case. Like, I'm not trying to just get her out. I just want her to be safe, and I want to have peace of mind that my daughter's not going to be harmed while I have this in my body. I don't want to affect her at all. And so I left with that induction date, and then what's it called? I left, and then maybe like 2 hours later I get a call from the nurse, and she's saying, your doctor talked to me again, and she actually said that she wants you to actually come in tomorrow. She just feels like she'd rather be safe than sorry, which I've been saying this since a week before that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, I mean, I was still nervous. I was super nervous to have her because, I mean, it's having another baby, you know, and I already have one. So I was already going through all that whole mom thing about being like, I'm not gonna just be with me and my baby anymore, like me and Daniel. It's not gonna be just me and him. And I was already like having those types of emotions, and so I was already nervous to have her, which is why I wasn't really in a rush to have her yet. I was just like wanting her to be safe. But so they were like, okay, you can come in tomorrow. And so I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So we went in, and then I'm also gonna do a birth story. So I just wanted to get this one out, talking about cholestasis and talking about my symptoms and my situation with it. But I'm also going to do a birth story, and then with that birth story I will include Camila, that's her name. I'm gonna have her in the video. I cannot even think right now. Anyways, so yes, thank you so much for subscribing and watching these videos, and please like and share this video so that other women can know what they can do about it, and hopefully their doctors will not give them as hard as a time as mine did. But yes, so thank you so much for watching, and I will have a new video up for you guys soon. Thanks, bye bye.